with the Evening War Report. We went 15 hours today without any missiles or rockets going into Gaza, which was a real sign of progress. It really was. So they're getting the rockets to stop finally in Gaza. More rumors of ceasefires, trading 50 hostages for 50 prisoners that we have in our jails. And, there's a lot of rumors going around. I don't know. As I said in the morning video, there's rumors of Hamas saying they're going to attack 15 cities in the United States simultaneously, combined in close time proximity with the FBI addressing Congress, saying that they're on an extremely high terrorist alert and terrorists may actually be striking in the homeland of America. The protesters are getting more aggressive in America at times, but it hasn't really gotten too far. I think the threat with the 15 cities may or may not be real. It's not covered by the mainstream media because they wouldn't want to. It would create panic. Or it could be just a rumor. And I covered all the different ways they might attack on the YouTube video in the morning based on what they do here in Israel, to Israel. The 15-city rumor might be unfounded, but the FBI warning is not unfounded, and the way they attack Israel is historical. It's not, of course, a rumor, it's real. So this is, it may not be 15 cities simultaneously or anything like that, but the sleepers are going to eventually, more than likely, do something. Iran keeps hitting the American bases in Syria and Iraq. There are over 50 attacks right now. The Dwight D. Eisenhower has come, as of yesterday, into what I would say position. It's in the Sea of Oman near the entry-exit point of the Persian Gulf. So it's definitely within fighter jet strike range of Iran, I would say. Will it traverse into the Persian Gulf? We don't know yet. The Americans are not stating. They may not know what they want to do yet. So why can they tell? How could they tell you? They're not sure. So we got to wait and see what happens there. Hezbollah keeps attacking up at the border. They seem to be reluctant to go into a big escalation. We're attacking predominantly with artillery against Lebanon, and at times we do have our jets bombed or rocket or missile attack from the jet. The outposts are of particular interest to us, which is observation and protecting the border. So as we keep blowing those up, which we've done, blown up quite a few, probably 10 or something, I don't know, maybe a lot more. I haven't been keeping count. It weakens their ability to observe us and defend against the ground entry. I think we would also need to do a ground entry into Lebanon. They do have tunnels, but I don't think it's common knowledge as to how extensive they are. My hunch is they're nowhere near as extensive as Hamas. Lebanon is a real country. It has a real army, real police, courts, parliament. It's a country. Gaza's, you could call it a country, but it's not a country. It's a zoo. It's a lunatic asylum. Okay. So we are discovering from the getting into their underground facility under the Shifa Hospital, or the Shifa Hospital, I don't think it has an R, that there were two dead terrorists, terror hostages rather, signs that hostages were being taken, kept there. We don't really know where the hostages are, in my opinion, or we would be attacking to get them or do something. But the hostages could be in 20 or 30 or 40, 50 different places. We do not know. Or if they know, they're not talking, but I think they would be taking action. The fact that they're not taking action probably means they don't have them located. We're going to begin operations in the southeastern part of Gaza because a lot of them have emigrated with their tunnels into eastern Gaza, the Hamas people and the PIJ and these other terrorist groups. So we've been giving out leaflets telling them to leave that area. They want us to come up with 60,000 liters of fuel for the UN so they can run their vehicles and other things that they do in Gaza. And Israel agreed to it. Biden was leaning on Israel, and Israel capitulated, although it got a lot of people mad because Hamas steals things from the UN, and they might just steal this fuel too. So, but Biden is trying to, he's in an election year. The election is a few days, less than a year away. It's not quite a year away. It's November 4th next year. So he's concerned, and his Democratic Party is not happy with his policies. I'm not happy with the way he keeps pushing us. Some things he leans on us on when he wants the world and his political adversaries to know, and his electoral base, the voters to know what he did. And then there's probably a lot of pressure being applied to Israel in ways that we don't know. The budget, which was supposed to allocate money to Ukraine and Israel, both of those grants or whatever those monies for Ukraine and Israel were eliminated from the budget, which he signed. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not going to get it passed. It means he didn't want to hold up the budget to to deal with Israel and America, and that probably doesn't stop him from using American weapons, giving them to Israel, or if he can't do that, he can just use the American weapons in the hands of American Navy and Air Force and so forth and fight, Israel's enemies. But I'm not particularly concerned with that. It's a bad thing because it gets Israel to rely on man, not God. And they know that. And that's the bad thing about it. Iran just keeps persistently getting their puppets to hammer away at the bases that America has in Iraq and Syria. They're not doing any other kind of escalation. There's rumors that Iran stabbed Hamas in the back and doesn't want to help them, all this kind of stuff. We keep getting stories. The hospital's running out of electricity, no fuel for the generators, like every day, and yet they still have electricity. So this humanitarian aid thing is getting fairly sickening, really. It's really, pushing Israel very far, and Netanyahu doesn't seem to have the guts to bear down on Biden, because if Biden happens to say, that he's pulling back on helping Israel in too many ways, the Knesset will then get him out. There's a lot of opposition to this goofball Netanyahu. He's horrible. And they may remove him. But if he can maintain good relations with Biden, they'll keep him in office because he's getting weapons flowing from America into Israel, and they'll put up with him. As stupid as it sounds, that's how they operate. We're still fighting in Jenin, and sometimes Hebron, Nablus, and the West Bank, arresting terrorists, and fighting them. We're using jet aircraft to attack positions, and tanks, and all these things. So it's rather, they have a pretty substantial amount of terrorists located in the West Bank. The attacks, the lone wolf attacks on civilians are pretty low right now because there's a lot of IDF and police activity in the West Bank, which means there's a lot of drones for reconnaissance and planes and everything else. We're noticing shortages of certain crops because there's nobody to pick the crops, because the men are in the reserves and down in Gaza or up by Lebanon. And we have a certain amount of volunteers from around Israel that are helping pick the crops in the south of Gaza. And the Palestinian workers that would be employed cheaply to pick the crops are not allowed in Israel anymore. And that seems to be a permanent situation. Although, if Biden leans on Netanyahu, he'll recapitulate. Let's see. I'm thinking. So I tried getting peaches, nectarines. Can't. Got some plums the other day. They were lousy. I left them out over a week, and they're still not soft enough to eat. Then there's the oranges seem good. The bananas are good. Eggplant is good. Zucchini is good. There's a lot of good stuff floating around. Onions and garlic and many things, but some things are not available. I tried to get tomato juice today, and yesterday too, and I can't get tomato juice. That's odd. I wanted to try making some sort of a Mr. or Mrs. T Bloody Mary mix. Not that I drink Bloody Marys. I haven't had a Bloody Mary in a million years, but I like to drink it without the alcohol. Put some sort of cayenne or chili in there, and some lime, and some salt, and some celery, and this and that. I was going to experiment and see how close I could come to getting it like the way they have it. They list their ingredients, but they don't tell you the proportions. So it'd be a little difficult. So I guess I would just put a little bit in a glass and then start messing with it and see if I could get it. But without tomato juice, out of the game. Milk, cream, cheese, meats. Meats are actually down in price, and the quality is quite high. So there's no real problem there. So you can get most things. All the, they still have 40, 50, 60 different kinds of breads or whatever it is in the store. Millions of different kinds of cheeses and candy and chips and cereal. I mean, they're loaded with stuff, but certain things are just not out there because I think it has something to do with the fruit pickers, So we can't get some items, which is minor annoyance. It's not It's not a major problem, but it's annoying. There's no tourists to speak of. I mean, tourism is down, I would say, by 99%, you know. And people are peeved at Netanyahu over that. Okay, mommy, go. Go. They're not happy with that, but what are they going to do? You know, does Biden have the guts to attack Iran? Mommy, go. Do I know? It looks like they're going to do something to Iran. They're going to try to. If Biden has the guts, Biden is so scared right now. He doesn't know what to do. He's not going to get on TV and say, if we get embedded in the Middle East, Russia could attack Poland, Moldova, and Norway, and Denmark, and and we'll be spread too thin because then China will attack us, and by attacking Taiwan and Japan, and North Korea will attack South Korea. He's not going to get on TV and say that, but you better believe it's keeping him up at night. He's really scared. He doesn't know what to do. Read Isaiah 47. He just keeps getting worse and worse. So the people setting the snare for him, which is basically North Korea, Iran, Russia, and China, can open up other fronts for him. But they did already. That's what's going on with attacking his bases in Iraq and Syria. So their next move would be to really escalate and get his bases in other countries like Kuwait, UAE, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and that will inflame Biden. But will it inflame? It'll inflame the Pentagon. Okay, you got to ask yourself, Mister, I can't find my way off the stage. Is he really understanding things now? Politicians listen to their generals. In America's case, it'd be the Pentagon, right? Or that guy Austin, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. But do they actually take their advice? Well, it varies according to the president, and according to how good they think their Pentagon is. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Usually they think they're smarter than the generals because the generals work for them. So how smart could they be? And they may or may not listen to their generals. So, Biden's looking for a break. See, there's a long delay. What do you think it costs him to have all these? I think there's something like 14,000 sailors on a variety of American ships here. What do you think that costs him a day? You know? I don't know. $50 million a day to run the ships and everything. I mean, it costs a fortune. I don't know exact numbers, but I mean, it's very, very high. And he's just sitting here for weeks now, treading water. The Pentagon doesn't need all that time to draw plans up to attack Iran. So Iran smells the fear. And the way these people in the Middle East operate, these terrorist countries, is when they smell fear, they push harder. They're analyzing Biden's political positions and everything else, and they're thinking, well, this guy's afraid to do anything to us. So all he does is bring the ships here and the planes here, and he won't do anything. So let's keep expanding. They want him to do something to to suck him into the snare. Now, the cargo planes are still coming into Israel every day. So they're still bringing military equipment and whatever into Israel. Are they putting troops on these planes? I seriously doubt it. I seriously doubt it. And, the war keeps marching on in Gaza. We keep making progress. We destroy more weapons. We find more, hives or nests of the terrorists, and we found one in a school, and I mean, we understand now where do you look. You look in hospitals, medical clinics, schools, things like that, universities, mosques, and you find stuff. You find weapons, you find intel, you find a lot of things. So that's where we're putting our focus. We've got their modus operandi. So every day we're getting more and more weapons. And, like I've been telling you for a few weeks, you're going to see the missile launches from Gaza go down, 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 and then it's going to be just a trickle here and there, and then it likely may never completely subside. It may get down to, 3 or 4 missiles a day or something like that, or it may subside 100%. Well, I mean, eventually it'll be 100%, but it may, a 15-hour break in missiles is good. It shows progress. So then pretty soon we'll have a 20-hour, a 24-hour break, and it should be very quick. The IDF's doing a good job. It should be very quick to, get the missile flow stopped from there. A good $1 million question is then will Hezbollah kick into gear and try to take up the slack and launch a lot of their missiles into Israel? Well, if they do, what'll happen is they're going to get a lot of bombs from Israel, and artillery and tanks are going to roll into Lebanon, and it's going to be, without American interference, it's going to be a bad, bad time for Hezbollah. And Lebanon's going to look like a garbage dump, like Gaza. What the media doesn't tell the people here is what the heck are they going to do with Hamas? Biden is all in that Hamas has to be demilitarized, which means they have no weapons, no weapon factory, no uniforms, no organization, no buildings, no offices, nothing. They're there. But as long as they're above ground breathing, they're going to try to reorganize and come against us. But nobody also puts in the Israeli media where are all these weapons coming in. Got to be Egypt. So why does Netanyahu go to Egypt and ask Egypt to be a mediator between Gaza and Israel? Isn't this idiotic? Yes. It's the behavior of a lunatic. Who would do that? Why would anybody do that? It's all coming through Gaza and through Egypt. And why won't Egypt shut the tunnels? You can't trust Egypt. It's insane. You can't trust. I mean, this is just. You can't talk to. I don't know. Anyway, there looks like that they're going to be unhindered in demilitarizing Hamas. Bringing in fuel for the UN is not going to help Hamas stay alive or anything like that. It appears they got plenty of fuel now. As I've said for 2 or 3 weeks now, once the flow of missiles stops out of Gaza, I'm not talking Lebanon, I'm talking Gaza, then they're going to try to negotiate. But since we found out there's 2 more dead hostages, Israel, America, and everybody else needs to start asking themselves the questions, and the questions run like this. The reason the American Special Forces and the Israeli Special Forces can't find these witnesses, these hostages, is there may be almost none of them alive. Okay? Got to wake up. That's a good explanation for why you can't find them. I heard they killed another hostage yesterday or something. I don't know how confirmed it is. I don't think it's confirmed. I think it came out of their news media. I'm not sure, but the way I found the news on that, it seemed pretty. People seem to trust the source. So it could have happened. So, there's the talk I heard. The latest was they give us 50 hostages. We get, which would be Israeli, and we give them 50 prisoners, and then they want a 3-day ceasefire. The ceasefire, I don't think is going to happen because it's diminishing returns. They'll regroup, and then before the 3 days is over, they'll be attacking us. And then we're going to start taking missile and rocket barrages and stuff like that. I think what's likely to happen is when they can't shoot missiles anymore and their effectiveness at climbing out of the tunnel entrances and attacking the soldiers is pathetically poor. Their results are dismal, really bad, and they wind up getting killed, most of them. So the continuation of that could go on, but it's pretty stupid. And that too will stop. It will stop. Then they'll try to negotiate if they really have any living hostages, which they probably do. They'll try to negotiate hostages for terms of surrender or something like that. And Netanyahu will try to go hardline, and Biden will start barking about we need the hostages back, and that kind of thing. But we've got to demilitarize them. You can't just push them in the ocean to drown. Israel won't do that because Biden won't let them, and the international community and so forth. So the two witnesses may do the work for them, or not. Israel might just say, okay, it's over. We demilitarized them. But to do that, it's not so quick. They got to go occupy Gaza with the military and the police and the Shin Bet and the border police and everything else, and they got to go. It's weeks. It's not 2 weeks. It's quite a few weeks. Probably 6 or 8 weeks to go through everything over there and make sure they got all the tunnels, make sure they got all the weapon stashes, make sure they rounded up the key players from October 7th. But that may be off the table. I don't know what Biden and Netanyahu are going to cook up. They're certainly not going to go public with it. So we don't know what's going to happen. But in terms of the rockets coming into Gaza, that's pretty much almost the done deal. And then comes the fighting against the troops, which will reduce to more of a harassment level, and then nothing. And then, it's going to go away too. And then the question is, what do you do with all these Gazans? They go back, half of their houses are gone by now? What are they going to do? I don't understand what they're going to do. They don't have a plan, okay? None of them have a plan. They don't know what to do. I guess that's about what I got right now. So it's going well for Israel. And I pray that we get the cessation of all the rockets and missiles from Lebanon and Gaza and Syria, and it just all stops so that people can go back to being somewhat normal. It probably won't happen because I think Lebanon's coming up next. And then I'm telling you, we're going to have it with Jordan. You can take that to the bank, okay? Jordan's coming up next. When you read about prophecy with Gaza and Lebanon, the next, verses you read are right after that is Ammon, Edom, and Moab. So that's coming up next. And they're already getting nasty towards us. So that'll happen next. So Israel's not going to have... The Lord's teaching Israel not to trust man and not to try to make their own government. Let God handle things for them. And that's what he's educating them. And then it's leading to Ezekiel 34, getting rid of the bad shepherds, which would be the government and the rabbis, and the rich fat cats that run the industries. And the two witnesses will be the judges of Israel. That's in Isaiah 1. And that's what you see when you get to Zechariah 12, which is down the road a little bit. The judges are already in place as the judges. So they have to have been there before. So it's any daytime now they'll get involved. God will equip them to send them out openly, and that's coming. And you're never going to hear the church people tell you that, but it's the truth based on the scriptures. So that's what I got. So I hope this updated you somehow. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out.